And we are back, folks, here on the Michigan Insider on Sports Talk 1050 WTKA, online at WTKA.com. For those of you who are watching us on the stream, you're joining the folks who've been listening to us live all morning on the radio. And as we've done for the last couple of weeks, introducing you to the new staff, the University of Michigan on the basketball side of things. Dusty's done an amazing job of assembling a roster. He's done just as amazing of a job assembling his staff. You've already met Mike Boynton. Last week we had Justin Joyner in. Now we come in with a guy who I'm more acquainted with based on who we know mutually than I was with the prior two. So I already feel like I know Akeem Miskdeen. Akeem, how you doing this morning?
Great.
Yeah, man. Glad that you could join us. And like I said, a lot of common friends. I know you go back with Stoddy Washington. I know you go back with my man Dre Haynes, and so feels like you probably had a good feel for Michigan before you even set foot on campus.
Oh, of course. Those are my guys. Great people, point guards. So we're in the same little family as far as the point guard family, and I always watched them from afar when they were assistants at Michigan.
Okay, all right. So let's start with your basketball foundation, like I've done with all the other guys. I like to get into your journey in the sport, starting off with growing up. I don't know if you call it the land or the shot. My man Levi said you got to call it the land, Sam. Okay, so cool. But growing up in Chicago, take me into your journey into basketball first as a player.
Well, I was fortunate enough to grow up in Chicago area. We moved from the city to the west suburbs, and in the west suburbs is really good basketball. Maywood, Bellwood area. You talk about the three amigos who played at Proviso East High School. My brother played at Proviso West. It was some really talented guys that I got to watch growing up, but I started playing basketball from an early age. My brother's 4 years older than me, and I kind of followed him wherever he went. So at 5 years old, I was playing basketball, running around the Boys and Girls Club in Bellwood, and that's how I grew up playing basketball. And from there, I was fortunate enough to play at a prestigious high school, St. Joseph High School.
Okay.
Shout
out to Zeke.
Same high school as Isiah Thomas, Evan Turner. They had a movie on our high school, Hoop Dreams. I got a chance to play for a legendary coach, Gene Pingator, who's one of the best high school coaches in Illinois history. Then from there, I went to go play for Johnell Davis at Lamar County Community College. And the unique thing about Johnell, he's a Big Ten guy. He played at Iowa for Dr. Tom Davis. He's actually coaching at a junior college in Michigan right now. Then from there, I went to go play for another Big Ten guy. This is how unique it, how it comes back full circle. Brian Good, who played for Wisconsin, but I played for him at Queens University in Charlotte, North Carolina, so Division II. Then I got right into coaching right after that. But I had a good career. We won a lot, but I didn't have the career where I thought, like, man, I need to go try to get to the NBA or overseas. I thought I had a better chance of completing my journey as a coach.
So, they say point guards are inherently coaches, right? That's what they do. You were captain of your teams, right?
Yes.
And so you had that gene in you, kind of like the coach on the floor. As you stepped into coaching, did the teaching part of it, communication you can do, the teaching part of it, did that come naturally to you to be able to coach guys to play the way you played, or was that something that you kind of had to learn, kind of had to pick up along the way?
You say communication is naturally, but I was a fierce competitor, so my communication had to change as a coach. But I had to change my communication and learn how to talk to people differently. Everybody receives messages differently. But as far as knowing all the plays as a point guard, you get so many plays and you figure it out. You figure it out through the game, and I think that translated to coaching. And just to make everybody feel good. As a point guard, you got to make everybody involved, make them feel good. And I think that also translates to coaching, where you're trying to make everybody feel good about the situation they're in.
So here's what I mean by it. I mean, you can get into things that you just do naturally, your pace in the two-man game, right? Dribble handoffs. I mean, things like that, teaching things like that. A lot of times with guys, you got to actually say, hey, I want this to be a dribble handoff, right? Yeah. Was that the teaching part of it, things that you were doing inherently? Did it come natural to you to be able to kind of teach guys to do those things with the intricate details that you have to do as a coach?
Yes, that definitely came natural. And that's a testament to my coaches.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it came naturally because they taught me. You talk about dribble handoff. When you dribble handoff, you got to dribble at the defender to provide separation, almost like a screen. And that's what my coaches taught me. So it came easier because of the coaches that I had.
Mm-hmm. So you go along the way and you coach for a lot of really, really good coaches. And I'm curious, as you have gone along in your journey, you pick up some things along the way. And I'm talking about before you ever get to Dusty, because I want to dig into the strengths that you brought to the table. He had to see something in Akeem Miskdeen when he got the job at FAU. He had to see something. He's like, man, I want that guy to come coach for me. So as you got up to FAU, what was in your toolkit? How had you developed as a coach? What would you say your strengths were at that time when you first kind of got with Dusty?
I would say player development. That was probably my number one strength. I loved being in the gym with the guys. And I was still young. I'm still young now, but I was really young. So it's funny, one of my former players, he was talking about how I used to play one-on-one and defend those guys. But I would say player development, spending a lot of time with the guys in the gym working on anything that they need to get better at. Recruiting. When I was at Hampton University, we recruited some high-level guys, and we won. So I brought that to the table. And overall teaching, what you said before, overall teaching of the game, I brought that. And to go back to my former coaches, you know, they allowed me to learn from them, and I brought that to the table. So I would say recruiting, player development, and teaching. And teaching within that teaching is scouting, scouting different defenses, different offenses.
So, man, when you talk about teaching a point guard, I mean, point guard today is different from point guard when you played.
Yeah,
definitely different from point guard. You mentioned Isiah Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Isiah Thomas is like that's a lost breed, but they consider Steph Curry a point guard, right? He's listed technically as one. So, do you have like a way, a style, a model for point guard play? Is it a throwback, or are you with the hey man, score first, pass second era? Are you with that era of point guard play?
I think it starts with toughness. I think the point guard's ahead of the snake, so you got to have a point guard that's really tough. And it starts with leadership. Then, you know, as an assistant coach, I'm going to go with whatever the head coach wants in the point guard. I know Dusty wants a pass first point guard, and it's funny because it's going back now. It's going back a little bit to pass first point guards. You know, you see it in the NBA, you see it, college teams have those. So it's going back to that, but you got to be able to shoot. You know, back in the day, it was like, man, just set up the offense, move out the way. But it's not like that anymore. So a point guard for me is toughness and leadership. And with that toughness, hopefully you can defend because you can be the point of the attack on defense. But with Dusty, he wants a pass first point guard, and we believe we got one, and we go from there.
I got you, man. Listen, I'm with it. I'm a diehard Isiah Thomas fan. It feels good to hear a Chicago guy, probably a Bulls fan over here, shouting out Isiah Thomas, right? You know, who is a guy who could average 14 assists per game in a season. But then also, if you need him to give you 40, he could do that. That was what was the dividing line between him and a guy like John Stockton, who's gone great assist guy, one of the best all time. But he couldn't do what Isiah Thomas did when it came to scoring the basketball. And that, to me, is the beauty of a point guard like that. Can get you buckets, but can keep his team involved too.
Yeah.
So now you get into FAU. You guys built that program. Dusty built that program into something, the kind of success they had never seen before. And now he has an opportunity to put his imprint on Michigan. So let's go, take me back to the build up of FAU, getting there, ground. I think you guys, early in that season, I was trying to look back at the record. I think you guys lost like an exhibition game early in that tenure. So what was it like at the beginning as he laid out his vision at FAU? What do you remember about that time?
It was exciting and nerve-wracking at the same time because the program was bare, but Dusty brought his energy. He's very relentless in his work ethic. He brought that to the table, and it helped the program succeed to where they are now. But in the beginning stages, Dusty struggled a little bit. I know I struggled. I left Kent State, and I was like, should I be doing this here? I should have stayed at Kent State.
Right.
But we figured it out. You know, we hunkered down, we figured it out, and we didn't have the transfer portal back then.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the only guys that we can get were fifth-year guys, maybe a guy that can get a waiver. So we didn't have the transfer portal, so we had to go seek out high school players and be unique in our recruiting of guys. And like you said, the first game of the season, we struggled. We lost to Lynn University. We lost the exhibition to our neighbors, and that was frustrating. But I always tell my friends in the coaching business, that's when I knew Dusty was going to be a really good coach, because he took that on the chin. He said, guys, that's on me. He didn't blame anybody. He said, I have to be better. I have to be better for you guys and myself. And I took that as, man, he's going to be an awesome coach. And he ran with that, and he got better, and we got better. And if it wasn't for injuries our first season, we would have possibly competed for a league championship.
Okay, so you could tell that very first loss that he was going to be a guy, but things clearly got better. You got an idea of what you could get there and who you could recruit there, and then what his scheme was going to be like. And so I've heard over and over again, and I asked Mike and I asked Justin, they talk about Dusty and his offense just being this dynamic thing. I think Mike called him like an offensive genius. So you've been in it, and you got coaches or friends in the profession. You scouted other teams. What is it about Dusty and what you guys do, what you guys are implementing here, that has people calling him a genius, that makes, now in this case, Michigan so tough to prepare for?
I think Dusty is a forever learner. He's going to call and seek information. He's an innovator. He's going to try to figure it out. You know, he's not going to try to do the same old thing. He's going to try to do something different. And like I said, he's going to call the Brad Stevens of the world. He's going to call everybody who's known for offense in basketball and pick their brains, and he's going to spin it his way. That's what makes him so unique. And he's going to be up at 3 in the morning studying Euro basketball, studying, WNBA basketball. That's just what he does. He watches a lot of basketball. He watches a lot of films. And one thing he does with it, he spins it in his own unique way.
So you mentioned doing a lot of scouting as you've seen his scheme, his system evolve, kind of like what I was talking about, man. You know, Mike was like, this is going to help me sharpen my toolkit. Learning from this guy is kind of like you learning from one of the best offensive minds in the game. And I was like, man, to hear Mike say that really kind of hit me, to let me know that this is one of those deals where across the profession, people are looking at Dusty as one of these innovative offensive minds.
Yes. It's always guys that come out through the years that's very innovative, and he's one of them. And I'm sure, like, he's calling everyone, people are calling him, and he's really humble about it. You know, he's, like I said, he's a forever learner, so he's trying to pick their brain. While they're calling him about stuff, he's asking them questions, trying to learn their offense as well. So
let's talk about how it comes to pass with you coming to Michigan. You obviously have known Dusty, right? You're at UGA. You know, I got a good job there, but this opportunity at Michigan comes along. So what about that? You know, getting that call, making the decision to come. How did all of that come about?
So Dusty, they end up losing to Northwestern, and I think he interviewed for Michigan the next day or 2 days after, and I received the call, asked if I was interested, and we were in the midst of planning an NIT.
Yeah, I remember.
And I was excited about Michigan, but I was also excited about trying to win an NIT championship. So I told Dusty I was very interested. Can you hold on for a second? let me finish out with the guys, and I'll make a decision. And I came down here and saw the lay of the land, and I told him I was coming. So I broke the news to Coach White and told him I was coming. But you asked me, what is it about Michigan? I grew up in Big Ten country. So I grew up going to the Big Ten tournament in Indianapolis and in Chicago. So, I watched CBS in the 90s when Big Ten was on. You know, some of my friends, some of the people I looked up to played in the Big Ten. So this is Big Ten basketball. I got family in Detroit who are Michigan fans.
Okay.
I got two cousins, they're siblings. One is a Michigan fan and one is another school in Michigan. So he's going at it with him, like, we got Akeem, we're gonna win. So that's that's the unique thing about it. Like, I drove home last weekend, it was 3.5 hours. To be 3.5 hours from my family, is really exciting for me. When I first got the job, I put in a group text when we all were there. My brother texted me saying, "When is first game? I need 100 tickets." You know, he wasn't saying that when I was at Florida or Georgia.
Right.
Maybe it's because it's easier to get to, but
right.
It's the brand of Michigan and the appeal that Michigan brings and the appeal that Michigan has.
We're talking to Akeem Miskdeen here on the Michigan Insider on Sports Talk 1050 WTKA, online at WTKA.com, obviously on the streams on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. So I mentioned, Dre and, Sadi. I don't know how much you knew about Michigan, the program, the intricacies of the program before you got here. But did you get a chance to really talk to Sadi or Dre about what it's like to coach here with the program, what the fans are like it all before you took the job?
Of course. I talked to them a while back when they were assistants here, and I've talked to them recently, and they gave me some pointers, and they love Michigan, and people all over love Michigan. When I was in Chicago a couple weeks ago, I got some Go Blues. Michigan is a unique brand, and I know the history of Michigan. Mm-hmm. Obviously, me being from Chicago, I know Ricky Green went here. Kazi, where is he from? Chicago, right? Obviously, Juwan Howard. And I know the history, and I follow Michigan basketball for a long time, so I know a lot about it. The thing that I didn't know, just a huge following. I've been at some big-time schools. I didn't know that Michigan had this huge following. It's a big-time brand.
So did you were you acquainted with Juwan? Did you know Juwan? I mean, was that someone you ever crossed paths with at all? What about your experience? I mean, Chicago guy, just seems like everybody in Chicago, that's one of the native sons.
My cousins went to school with Juwan Howard. So my older cousins, they went to school on the South Side with Juwan Howard. And I want to say he sponsored or he donated to my AAU team back in the day. I played for Chicago Ferrari. And I want to say he sponsored it or donated. So I knew who he was. Everybody in Chicago kind of know the legends of the game in Chicago. And one unique story is at FAU, when we got to FAU, I called Jace and was recruiting Jace a little bit. So that's how it comes back full circle. But Juwan Howard, he's a legend, obviously in Chicago. He's a legend here at Michigan. So of course I knew a lot about him.
I got you. All right. So now you get here and the staff starts coming together. And you start to see the pieces that Dusty is putting on the board and how they fit together. It's real easy to see how the players on the court fit together, right? You can see how this guy can shoot. This guy is a stretch guy. This guy, like Vlad, he's going to give you some post presence. You got, guard. You got a guy in Roddy Gayle who can get to the rim. And you see how all of them fit together. What about the staff? Being on the staff before with Dusty, you saw how that fit and how they really complimented Dusty. How about this staff and how it fits and how each of you compliment Dusty? That's one of the words that he used yesterday. What do you see, having been on the staff with him before and being on his staff now?
Well, Dusty did a good job of not only putting the team together, but putting the staff together. And what he always likes to say is he wanted like-minded guys. Now, what does like-minded guys mean? Like, are we alike? No, we have the same purpose. And our purpose is to help young men be better on and off the court. Of course, we want to win. We're all competitors. We all have a great work ethic. So that's what like-minded guys that he put together and how we complement each other. We all come from different backgrounds. Mike is from New York. I'm from Chicago. We got Justin from LA. Kyle Church and Kyle Church and Drew, they're from different areas. We all have unique personalities. Some is more reserved. Some is more energetic. So that's how we complement Coach.
So everything that I've heard and have gotten to know about it, like the dude is just a tireless worker. Like the word relentless I've seen used with him a ton. So, you gotta match that energy, right? I'm sure the guys have asked you questions about Dusty and what he's like to work for. And so the fans are getting to know him as well. What are some of the things that you learned about Dusty over the course of your time working with him that these guys getting to work with him now are going to have to adjust to, like you did when you first started?
So Dusty watches more film than any coach I've ever been around. I'm talking about assistants or head coach. So it kind of makes you watch a lot of film too. You know how the saying, who you're around is who you are. So like Dusty watches so much film, so it makes you want to watch so much film. Obviously, he's a relentless relationship builder. He's going to have relationships from the 90s that he still has. just a couple of days ago, he was trying to get his phone situation, and he lost some contacts. And he was struggling with it a little bit because he knows that he has really good relationships in those contacts, and he don't want to be the guy texting, "Sorry, I don't have your number in his phone," because that's not who he is. He's authentic. So he just got his contacts back. So I'm sure he's excited about that. But that's who he is. You know, he's relentless at everything he does. He has a purpose for everything he does, and it's not fake. It's authentic.
So here's one of the things that, first of all, one of the most personable, unassuming guy. Like, he's like a very genuine, down to earth dude. Like, you talk to him once and you feel like you know him. The other thing I know, you can talk to him once 20 years ago. I talked to him more than once 20 years. But the point is, you can talk to him, you know, one time, and that dude's going to remember you. Like, this dude's memory is like, it's like a, you know, a database in there.
It is.
Of contacts. Like, I don't even know why he needs the phone to keep him, because it's like he remembers everybody.
Yeah, he does. He does. And it makes me feel older because I'm not good at remembering everybody. I remember faces. He remembers faces and names and conversations. So he has a good, that's his gift, you know. He has a good, he can absorb information and retain it really well. And that's a gift of his. That's what makes him a great person, a great coach.
So he can, you know, photographic memory, conversations, names, faces. The other thing that I noticed about him, he's a very concise dude. Like, so you talk to him and it's a substantive conversation, but it's gonna be like 2 minutes. like it's not gonna be super long. You're gonna get a lot. You're gonna get a lot of detail, but it's gonna be 2 minutes. It's not gonna be 20. At least that's my experience with
this. That's real. It's funny, we got a running joke amongst his friends and his coaches in the industry. Like, when he calls, you know it's gonna be like 2 or 3 minutes. How you doing? It's gonna be really fast. You gotta listen. But like I said, he does everything with a purpose. And that's why he's able to talk to 100 people in a day, because it's gonna be 2 or 3 minutes.
2 or 3 minutes, man. And hey, man, I have 2 or 3 minute conversations. I can't remember it in the next hour. And this dude, like, photographic memory in that regard. So it is, you can really see why he's had the level of success that he's had. And now to apply that to recruiting and to NIL. Before we look ahead, let's look back. Going back to getting a guy like Johnell Davis. I don't remember his recruitment. I don't know what people were saying about him as a prospect. But Akeem, like, if you take what he became, and if people knew then what they know now, this guy is like a top 100 prospect. He's like a top 50, maybe a top 25 prospect. Going back to the recruitment, and I sort of look at guys like Lorenzo Cason and Justin Pippen as, you know, the kind of developmental guys that could be along the same track. What do you, as you look back to getting a guy like that to FAU, what were some of the ingredients, some of the elements that were seen early on that kind of let you guys know that he was going to be a guy?
Work ethic. He was always in the gym, stayed in the gym. He actually lived right across the street from the gym, so he stayed in the gym. He played with a tenacity that's just hard to find. You know, he was very tenacious and competitive. He had really good instincts. That's the first thing Dusty noticed about him. And when me and Dusty went to go see him for the first time, Dusty was like, man, this dude has great instincts. We're in pickup and he has like 8 steals and deflections, and he's all over the place. But the thing that made him, and he's still going, makes him a great player is he's very humble, and he has a high capacity of work. Like, he's going to be in the gym. He loves working on his game.
Yeah, man, but you got to be able to identify it. I mean, there's so many players. I mean, it's not like every player that gets drafted in the NBA is coming from a Power 5 school, right? And so there's players to be found everywhere. You just got to have an eye for talent. And that's what jumps out to me when you see a guy like that, or you see guys like we're talking about right now. Like, I look at Kason, I'm like, man, this dude, now that you see him, he doesn't look like where he's ranked. He looks like he looks like he's way better than that. But you guys were able to spot that.
Yeah, it's certain things that we watch for, and in particular skill set. And we watch, when we talk to them, we want to learn about them and their background and their mindset. Are they self-aware? Are they willing to sacrifice? We want to learn all of that stuff about them, and that makes some of these players who they are.
All right, and so but things are different. Now, you're still going to recruit guys that you got to develop. Make no mistake, right? And there are players that I think will gravitate to a program that is, okay, they have a track record for player development. But now, at a place like Michigan, you're gonna be in the game for guys who like, listen, I'm 1 year in and I'm going to the league. So what about that adjustment period? I mean, you've been at the Power 5 level. So you swam in those waters before, but it's kind of a different mindset when you're recruiting players like that, is it not?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, we want the best of the best. Like, we're not going to shy away from recruiting the best of the best. We want the best players that we can possibly get at Michigan, but they have to be a fit for Michigan. Like, if we can recruit a one and done and they're a fit for Michigan, by all means, we're going to go after them. And we want all our guys to, have that chance to make it to the NBA, whether it's 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, or if it takes all 4 years. So whoever we get, if we have a player right now, one of our freshmen have a really successful season and they have a chance to get drafted, we're going to be right there rooting for them and pushing them to get drafted. So we're not going to shy away from it. We're going to try to get the best players that we can get here at Michigan and go from there.
How much harder has it been for you who is noted as a standout recruiter? You talk to any coach in the game, say, man, King really recruit. How much harder is it in the era of NIL? Has that complicated matters or has it made matters easier because it's out front? You got X, Y, or Z. I'll look your way. Is it 6 and 1/2 dozen the other? How does it work for you?
It's just an adjustment. If you don't adjust, it's going to be very, very complicated. You got to adjust. We all got to adjust as we get older, and it's different set of rules each time. So it's an adjustment. For me, it's just you have to talk to more people. It's more agents involved. So you just got to talk to more people and build more relationships. But I don't think it is as complicated. It's just more time on the phone.
Yeah, more time on the phone. Now you got the portal that you have to recruit as well. You got to recruit your own roster. That's the other thing that really stands out to me. And all you guys coming in here have really talked about the importance of relationships, of having bonds with guys. And I think that's in this day and age, especially the key to roster stability. You got to have relationships 1 to 13 as far as your scholarship guys are concerned, or you're going to be turning over players, not just the ones who are going to the league or graduating. It's going to be guys who just feel like, man, I don't fit here anymore. So what about that piece of it? Because now, like I said, you got to make sure you're recruiting and bonding with your own roster continuously.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to be a good recruiter, you probably recruit the players that you have on your roster, because when you bring recruits in, the players they're going to sell, you're going to program out of recruits that you have in-house. So the Wills of the world, the Nimaris of the world, we have to recruit them too. I talked to Will and Nimari yesterday. Nimari's in Texas working out. Will is working out here, offering me great restaurants and telling me where I should go. And but you have to build great relationships with the guys you have on campus, because they're going to help you in recruiting. You don't want those guys leaving and saying anything negative about you. They're going to help you. So that's the biggest thing, like cultivating the relationships that you have with the guys that are here, and continue to cultivate the relationships when they're not here. So we have this really good class. We're talking to them daily. We're checking on them and building that relationship daily, because in the spring, recruiting is expedited. So you don't have a chance when you get a recruit, you don't have a chance to recruit them for 4 months like you do now. Like, we're about to go out in May. We go out in May, June, July, August, and we have a chance to build authentic, long-standing relationship with some of these high school guys. But now it's expedited when you recruit these guys for 1 or 2 weeks. So now you get them. Then after you get them, you're actually on the back end trying to establish a better relationship with them.
So, Nimari's a Chicago guy. Did you already have connection with, familiarity with Nimari before you got here?
I saw Nimari when he was really young. We didn't have a big-time connection, but I knew some people that knew him. And I saw him when he was really young. When he was a freshman in high school at Morgan Park, he helped them win the state championship. I want to say Io got hurt, and he stepped in and he made some big shots in the state championship. And I remember that vividly. And I think I told him that I remember him helping them win the state championship. So great young man. I'm excited that he's staying, and I'm excited to build with him.
Yeah, man. And it's crazy. I saw, man, Tom Wyrot tweet out a picture of him and Vlad. And, it's like, man, you talk about things coming full circle. It's coming full circle for Nimari and Vlad.
Yeah, they have a great relationship. When when we had Vlad on his visit, Nimari came to dinner and they were talking about old times. At that time, Vlad didn't speak great English, so they were talking about that. Yeah, it all comes full circle with basketball.
Yeah, man. And so now you're getting into the process. The roster is almost complete, and you see, all the different attributes, the skill sets that have really come together. So I've asked all the different guys to give me their take on what it's going to look like when you guys get on the floor. So I'm going to ask you the same question. What is it going to look like, all these pieces that you've assembled as you throw them on the floor? Give me your vision of how it's going to play out when you guys actually get to start playing games.
We're going to be really competitive. We got a bunch of guys that love to compete, that won at a high level. So that's the number one thing we're going to be. Offensively, we're going to play fast and we're going to share the ball. Hopefully, we're going to shoot a lot of threes. Defensively, we're going to be big and long. If you look at the NBA now, you look at some of these NBA teams and look at their front court, look at their 4'5", they're 7 feet, 6'11". So we'll have a lot of length. So we'll be big and long. We should be really good on the glass. But number one, we're going to be really competitive. That's our number one goal, to be competitive every night and every day in practice.
Yeah, man. And you step into a league that is known to be, well, you're from these parts.
Yeah.
It's known to be physical. It's known to be chippy. I say we had to grow you guys, you Bulls guys. We had to grow you into the physicality of the game, because y'all wanted the more finesse style. But y'all got with it. Y'all got with it over time. Pistons kind of helped that out. Shout out to Isiah Thomas. But the Big Ten is a physical league, the most physical league in the country. So what about that piece of it? Because I imagine that's going to be an adjustment for Dusty.
And Dusty's been in the Big Ten too. He's at Indiana, so he knows. He's played in his career. I want to say he's played like 5 teams in the Big Ten. Northwestern, played Illinois twice, played a bunch of big teams in his career. So he knows it's going to be really physical, and that's why we have the roster we have. We have some big dudes. We don't have any small guys, so we have some big dudes with girth and some wings that play. We got one wing that played in the Big Ten, and we have some guys that play in the SEC, and the SEC is a tough physical league as well.
No doubt. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. When you think Georgia, you don't think basketball first, but you're starting to. all of a sudden, they're starting to get some love too. But yeah, no, a physical league that you have around here with some programs that have built their reputations on being physical, hitting the glass, and our perennial top programs. But again, I look at your ability to come into the state of Michigan and compete with a Michigan State, right? And so I you said you're a really fiercely competitive guy. It's one of the things I've been talking about. Have you already been immersed in the rivalry, in the back and forth? Like, people indoctrinated you into, hey, we don't like Michigan State around here.
A little bit. I mean, I think my cousins did it more than anything. They're brothers, and they're going at it a little bit. So a little bit, we got respect for their program, but we want to achieve like they achieve. We want to have the same success in recruiting on the court, off the court, like they had, and maybe even better.
Yeah, I want to get your take on some of the individual players. But right now, what we're going to do is we're going to take a break on radio. We're going to stay with you on the live streams on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. But right now, time for a radio break here on Sports Talk 1050 WTKA. More with Akeem Miskdeen on the other side. And so, Akeem, we can spend time talking to the people on the stream here about Roddy Gayle. You said you got a guy from the Big Ten already who brings those elements that we talked about. He brings you physicality. He brings you toughness. If you go from Ohio State to Michigan, you automatically have that competitive edge. So when you watch Roddy, tell me what you see and what you think you guys have in him as a player.
I was fortunate enough to have to do a scouting report on him because at Georgia we played him in the NIT. He's a heck of a player. He's a throwback player too, with his skill set. He's not going to blow you away with his speed. He's going to use his speed, but he's not using it all the time. He's not using his athleticism all the time, which he needs to use more. But he gets to the lane, he shot fakes, shows it. He gets to the free throw line a bunch. He can really defend, and I think his shooting numbers are going to improve. He had really good shooting numbers his freshman year. Didn't shoot it as well as he would like this year, but he's going to improve that. His mechanics look good. He's gonna work. And one thing I love about Roddy, he's very mature. He's gonna do what's asked of him and more. And he's gonna do it quietly. He's gonna punch in the clock and get out of there. And that's what makes him. That's what's gonna make him a great player.
Yeah, man. I know, as Dusty said, you kind of let the leadership, kind of emerge as the players come together, and you kind of see who the alpha is. But I'm kind of automatically expecting him to be a catalyst for this team.
Mm-hmm.
Base talent. He's a lot of talented guys, but he's a talented guy that's been in the he's been in the fight here in the Big Ten, right? Michigan, Ohio State had some success in this conference. That just sort of kind of puts him out there as a guy that I think out the gate is one of those natural guys you look to for leadership.
Yeah, leadership and confidence. That's one thing he's going to bring because he's done it at this level. He's going to bring confidence and reassurance for our guys, like you can do it at this level, and this is how it can be done. So especially for the freshmen, I'm sure they're going to pick his brain. And he's going to bring, like I told you, he's going to bring that maturity. When you have some maturity and some confidence, it's going to roll over to the guys.
So, did you go out front on the Justin Pippen recruitment, being the Chicago guy? Did Dusty just say, okay, go ahead, Akeem, get that done?
We were recruiting him a little bit at Georgia. And when Dusty got the job, Dusty received a couple phone calls about him, and I knew we were recruiting him at Georgia. So we talked about it a little bit, and we hopped right on it. We watched this film in the office, and we jumped right on it, And I love him as a player, but another guy that's very mature for his age. He handles it like a professional. He's always working at his craft. And he obviously probably gets that from his father. But I was excited to recruit him. Obviously the caveat is his father is a Bulls legend, and I grew up watching him. But to be honest, I was more excited about Justin.
Right.
Scotty, I had my time watching Scotty. Now I get to watch Justin, and I think he's gonna have a great career here in Michigan.
Yeah, I'm curious. So you said you were recruiting him a little bit. Players who have sons who are in the game, my experience has been that can make or break a dude, right? Trying to live up to that standard. Coaches or players who are also coaches, they can kind of push the button a little harder with their kid than the other kids. So I'm always, when a guy comes out of that and is a really, really good player, I always feel a little bit better about what that's going to mean as far as his long-term success. Like you never know how a guy is going to play out or recruit, but I just feel like a guy who has a dad who was a player, who was kind of pushing him, who has some success, I can feel like a little more confidence that that's going to translate when he gets to the college level.
And he was fortunate enough. We talk about his dad. He has a brother that played in SEC, so he was fortunate enough to see it from his brother too. So he saw it from his brother, probably more so than he saw it more so from his brother than his father. And he was really young when his father was playing, but he saw it from his brother. So
we are back now on radio as well here on Sports Talk 1050 WTKA, online at WTKA.com. Also on the stream on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, talking about Justin Pippen. And here's why I brought up, we was talking about how you have a dad who was a player. If a guy comes out of that shadow and actually becomes like a legit college prospect, like, man, he's going to be all right. Because I think guys wash out all the time, at the high school level when they can't quite get out of their dad's shadow. Another Chicago guy comes to mind. I tell this story a lot. I remember being at a tournament watching Rick Brunson coach Jalen and Akeem. And by the way, we're talking to Akeem Miskdeen here on the Michigan Insider on Sports Talk 1050 WTKA, online at WTK.com. I remember watching Rick get in this dude's grill like I've never seen a coach get in a player's grill. It was unbelievable. It was so biting that I didn't even want to interview him after that. And Rick was like, no. Get over here and interview him. I want to see what he does after he plays a game like that. So, okay, I'm a part of this teaching process right now. And then I talked to him after the fact. And he said, listen, I played the game. I was McDonald's All-American. I know what it takes to get to a certain level. I don't feel like he's getting the kind of challenge that he's gonna face moving along. So I gotta mimic that for him to get to where he needs to get. And by the time he gets to the end of high school, he's one of the top players in the country. Felt really good that that's going to translate to the college level. Look at Jalen Brunson now.
Yeah. They have you know, if you're a player and your father or sibling played in the NBA, obviously you've seen it. You've seen it how it's done, and they can tell you stories about it, as opposed to someone that hasn't. You know, you see it all the time, and you inherently have some skill sets that other people don't have.
Yeah, man, no doubt. All right, so we started getting into the roster, how it's going to fit together. One of the things you said earlier in the interview is that Dusty, he values pass first point guards. Not to say that he won't take a guy who is I'm gonna go get it as a lead guard, but likes to pass first guys, and that's the impression I get from watching Tre. When you watch Tre on film, tell me what you saw.
Same thing. I scouted Tre, and we recruited him a little bit when I was at Florida, and I scouted him for 2 years. Tre is tough, physical. We talk about Big Ten. He's a big guard. You know, he's tough, physical. He makes the right reads when they need to be made, and he makes open shots. It's not like Tre can't score. Like he can really score, and he makes the right reads. That's important as a point guard, making the right reads. And when he's open, we feel confident that he can make shots, and he's going to be surrounded by some guys that make shots. So I expect Tre to average a high assist number this season.
Yeah, and then you throw in there, you sprinkle in there some long guys who can really, really shoot it. Like, you know, you look at a guy like Sam, who played for my man Nate Oates at Alabama. A guy like Danny Wolf, you, like I said, you keep seeing how the pieces fit together. Now the question is, and I know Dusty got this question yesterday, said, so can you play some of these longer pieces? And I think the question was about, I don't know if Dusty got to it, but about playing Danny and Vlad together. I just assumed when I saw you guys land, I was like, oh yeah, you put them on the court at the same time.
Yeah, Danny and Vlad have different skill sets. Vlad is more in the paint. Danny is more on the perimeter. Like if I told you Danny shot 85 threes, you wouldn't even think anything of it. And if Danny was 6'8", he would still be playing the 4.
Right.
So it just so happened he's 7 feet, and all three of those guys can play together as well. Sam played some 3 when he was at Alabama. And I look at the NBA, you know, look at the Timberwolves, what they're doing. They have 2 7-footers and a 6'9" dude on the perimeter. You look at the Nuggets, they have 6'10", 7 feet, and 6'9". So the NBA has become bigger, and college basketball has become bigger as well.
Well, I look at the NBA, I look at the Timberwolves especially, and one of the things that I appreciate most is they put you in a blender defensively. Like they are. I mean, the Nuggets, make no mistake. I know Jamal Murray's a little hurt,
a little frustrated,
and a little frustrated too, right? You know, that fine is telling you how frustrated he is. But it's not just the injury that's doing it to him. It's these dudes are locked down. I mean, it's, you know, as a Pistons fan, it takes me back. This is one of the best defensive teams I think we've seen, especially in the modern era. And it's one of the things that I see. Not necessarily looking at the Timberwolves, but just looking at the staff that Dusty put together. It's a lot of defensive acumen that he chose to go out and get. And it feels like, okay, yeah, we got this reputation for going out there and being able to give it to people offensively. We want to give it to people defensively too.
Yeah. And it's funny you talk about this. We were texting in a group message about Minnesota's defense, their hand activity, how long they are in the gaps, their ball pressure. You know, so we're watching and we're learning too. You know, we're going to be creative in what we do in defense, on defense this year. And we have some great defensive minds with Coach Boyd and Coach Joyner. They're going to bring some different ideas to the table and put those ideas with Dusty's ideas, and we should have a great mix.
Yeah, man. You know, it's interesting. And one of the notes that I took yesterday from Dusty talking about working in the portal, you know, being able to call coaches from other staffs with these players is because you're not looking for castaways. Like he said, when you guys first got to FAU, you had to get guys that, you know, they were 5th-year guys or they were getting ran off their other team. But that's not what these guys are. They aren't runoff guys. And it's almost like coaches and the connections you guys have, realizing that, look, you're going to lose players, you're going to gain players, to be able to call a guy on that staff and to ask him about, hey, what's up with Sam, right? You guys were able to do that with a lot of guys that you added to this roster.
Yeah, well, most of our guys, and that goes to the character of the guys we have on this roster. Every guy that we recruit out the portal, their coach wanted them to come back. You know, they
say that again. Say that again, Buckeyes. Buckeyes. Just so you know, because you might think that, oh yeah, they just didn't take it. No, that's not what happened with Roddy Gayle. Yeah. So every guy that you guys got,
every guy that we got, if they go back in the portal right now, their coach will want them back right now. Every guy that we got, and that's a testament to the character of those guys, and obviously their talent level as well. And we're fortunate enough to be friends with a lot of people in this business, and we can call them and they can give us the honest truth.
Yeah, man, no doubt. And so that's another unique thing about being able to build a roster, being able to grab guys from the portal. You guys had to flip the entire roster. As you move forward, you know, I know you follow Dusty's lead, but the conversations about how you use the portal moving forward. Mm-hmm. Is it more, as I phrased it with Mike, is it more tweaking in the portal? Or like some rosters, some staffs, some coaches are going to say, hey man, we're going to flip our roster every year. How do you see it? How does Dusty see it?
We're not going to flip our roster every year. We're going to, that's why we brought in who we brought in. Now, if they're fortunate enough to go to the NBA, that's great. That'll help us in recruiting. We want to bring in a couple guys that, you know, like a Danny Wolf that you know, has 2 years. Tre Donaldson has 2 years. Sam Walters potentially has 3 years. Like, that's not being said. If they get a chance to play in the NBA, we're gonna push them to go to the NBA. Mm-hmm. But we want guys with multiple years so we can build a program. That's why we have the freshmen that we have. And it goes back to what you're saying, building those relationships, cultivating those relationships so they won't jump in the portal. Mm-hmm. So they have faith and confidence that we're going to get them better, we're going to win. We want to make sure we build a program and we can just go in the portal and tweak some things and maybe get some other young guys that we recruited before in the portal that has multiple years.
So speaking of recruiting, again, I'll say it, and this is the word from across the profession. Akeem can really get it done on the recruiting trail. You mentioned having guys from all over. The luxury that you have in that is that you're going to have ties all over the country. So if we talk about you specifically, other than, of course, Chicago, which, you know, I'm sure you have connections all over the place. What are your recruiting? Where's your recruiting footprint? What are your stomping grounds? Where are you most naturally going to be able to go and get players?
I've been all over. But you know, obviously I played basketball in North Carolina and I coached in North Carolina, the DMV area. Those are probably two of the main areas that I'll recruit in. Those are areas I'm familiar with. Those are areas that I cultivated relationships with coaches. Heck, some of my former players, they're coaching now in the DMV area. They're doing a great job for some predominant AU teams. So those are the places that I'll probably get to and go recruit from the most.
So we see how that fits with the staff as far as recruiting is concerned. As far as coaching duties with the team, I know there's still some things being determined, but do you have an idea of who you're going to be working with the guards? I mean, how's that going to play? Have you laid that out yet?
Yeah, we haven't talked about it as much, but the good thing about our staff, we've all done it in different ways. You know, I'm pretty sure Coach Boyden and Coach Joyner, they coached the guards, forwards, and so has me. I've coached guards, forwards, defense, offense. So I'll be comfortable doing anything. Doing laundry, I'm gonna do it for Michigan basketball. So I'll be comfortable doing anything, whatever Dusty wants me to do. I'm comfortable doing it. I'm confident I can do it too.
So what's your strongest suit? And listen, man, this is, you know, I know some coaches don't want to necessarily toot their own horn, but I want you to I know you're a humble guy, but let's talk about what you feel like your strongest suits are. If you believe as a coach that you do a lot of things well, as a coach on the floor, as a coach coaching, what are the things you think you're best at, you're strongest at?
We go back to what I said, player development is definitely one, but scouting. Okay. I enjoy scouting. Like when I was younger, I was never into video games. I was always into learning about players. I remember when I was younger, me and my brother used to have basketball cards, and we would hold up the card on the face of the card, and on the back of the card, it would tell you the college, the stats, and he would hold up the face, and I would have to say the stats and the college he went to. And little did I know that was scouting back then. So I love scouting. Anybody will tell you that I work with, like I dive into it. I love scouting and finding out different ways to beat a team, whether that's offensive or defense. Everybody will tell you that. So those are probably the two biggest things, like scouting and player development.
Okay. All right, man. So we're going to get a little deeper into the Chicago thing, especially this Isiah Thomas thing. So you mentioned Zeke. You went to St. Joseph's, right? Zeke's a St. Joseph's guy. You know, I watch him, and he is what I envision a point guard being. He is my model for a point guard. He is the guy that even Michael Jordan, who kept him off the Olympic team, even MJ said, after Magic Johnson, I'm looking at Isiah Thomas as the next best point guard to ever play the game. So you know, coming up in that era, seeing the kind of comparisons to his contemporary in that time, John Stockton. How did you see it? John Stockton made the Olympic team. Isiah Thomas didn't. Compare those two as point guards as a guy who came up as a point guard.
I think Isiah Thomas is the best point guard to ever play the game. And I'm with you. Like, the definition of point guard is set your team up, and if you can't set them up, you got to set yourself up as well. And he can do that. He can do both. So I think he's the best player to play the game. And he has 2 championships. And he was the main catalyst for his 2 championships. There's not a lot of guys that can say that. And compared to John Stockton, I don't think John Stockton has any. So.
He doesn't.
So
he doesn't have any.
So John Stockton is a great point guard. But I think I'll give a nod over to Isiah.
I mean, Isiah Thomas had to go through Bird, Magic, and Jordan.
Young Jordan, yeah.
Beat them all.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you want? I mean, he did all that in one of those runs. So, I mean, nobody else can say that. They had to do all that.
He's the greatest point guard to ever play.
See, I appreciate that about you. So now marry that.
And that's me being a
Bulls fan. That's what I was about to say. How do you marry those two? Saying all these glowing things about. So can you remember the Bad Boys run, or was that a little bit before your time?
It's a little bit before my time. So I remember more the Bulls run, and just going back and watching all the documentaries about the Bad Boys and the Pistons. You know, I remember that, but I have no ill feelings toward the Bad Boys. I'm saying that while I'm in Michigan. I love the Bad Boys, but I love the Bulls a little bit more.
All right, so you've been around here at the university for a little bit. I mean, what have you absorbed? People that you've interacted with. I don't know if you had any other connections to the program or people that you looked to in the program or at the university before you got here, but take me into what you've learned, who you've connected with since you've been here that has kind of really resonated with you.
Just all the people are really nice. It's like a Southern hospitality in Michigan, and they're all pro Michigan. They want every sport to do well. That's what I absorbed the most. It's a family atmosphere, and that's what I love most right now about Michigan.
So how do the resources compare? Dusty May mentioned the NIL. He's spending a ton of time. Like, coaches have to. You got to be fundraisers in this day and age, more than they ever had to be before. He said 25 to 30% of his time being spent on NIL. You see the player development center. So how do the resources here, NIL-wise, facility-wise, administrative support-wise, how does it compare to what you've seen across the country?
It stacks up to everywhere. And Dusty's doing a remarkable job with NIL right now. Our facilities stack up with every place that I've ever been. The Chrysler is beautiful. Renovating the locker room. The players have all they need to be successful here in Michigan.
Yeah, man. You look around and it's crazy to me. Everybody from a fan base perspective, I don't know if it's like this from coaches, but everybody think, oh man, they're ahead of me NIL wise. Like you be crazy. You go to some places in the SEC and you think everybody's getting down different in the SEC, and to a certain extent they may be. But you talk to those people, oh man, they got better NIL than us over there. Everybody thinks everybody is better than them as far as NIL is concerned.
Yeah, NIL, nobody knows what's going on in NIL as far as what school has what. It just hears stuff. It's hearsay about who has stuff and who has this much, who has this the least amount. It's just hearsay. So it's not a document that says, this school has this much, this school has this much.
And that's why I wonder how you handle that, because you mentioned dealing with agents, and sometimes even not agents, it could be families who are telling you, school over here is offering me X, Y, Z, NIL wise, and there's real, like, how do you deal with that when you don't really know for sure that they're being offered that over there? How do you process that as a coach that is swimming in those waters?
Well, and that's the unique thing about Michigan. Like, we have something more to sell besides NIL. And we're not going to recruit everybody. If your first thing is NIL, we're probably not going to recruit you. You know, we want your first thing to be about, you know, Michigan, about our basketball program, then NIL. You know, we're going to embrace NIL, but we don't want you to embrace the first thing out your mouth about NIL. But we have unique sell with Michigan. You know, if you have multiple years, a Michigan degree with the NIL we're going to give you is going to be more valuable than the short-term NIL that you're going to get from another school.
Yeah, and so I don't know how much you've had an opportunity. Part of administrative, or part of support, is administrative report. So what about your interactions or meetings? Have you been able to connect with any body on the administrative side of things of the athletic department yet?
Yeah, I met Ward. I met obviously our academic staff. We had meetings yesterday with compliance. We got a good staff. Like I said, it's big family, and they're all supportive. They're all overly communicative, which I love. You know, that's the way you can be successful, if there's no lacking in communication. So we have a good staff.
So lay out for me the calendar moving forward. You guys still have a spot open. You still have some recruiting to do. So there's that piece of it. There's getting on the road. And then there's actually coaching the team. So what does the calendar look like for you guys here over the next, month or two?
I go over the calendar every day trying to make sure I'm organized. But so right now we're in a quiet period, so we can't go out, but we can have players come to campus. We can go out the 17th through the 19th. That's the first AAU period. So the calendar for the NCAA, they've changed it. They gave us more time to relax, and honestly, the portal. They saw the portal was important, and we weren't going out in April, so they changed the calendar to push it to May, so we can have those portal visits. So we're going out 17th through the 19th for AAU. Then our guys will get here. June 10th is our first workout. Our guys will get here in the middle of June, and we'll go from June to August. Then in some parts of June, we'll be going out to have the new AAU, the new high school evaluation period. So we can go out there. Then July is AAU. Then we'll give our guys a break in August, in between something like August 15th to the time they'll be in school. So it's a full calendar, but we embrace it. We love it.
So we've gotten a chance to get to know you a little bit, Mike, Justin. Folks are getting their taste of Dusty, and we're gonna have Dusty on last, probably a little bit later on in June, but we're gonna have Drew and Kyle on before that. And so you got the familiarity with Dusty that you brought to the table. Give us the scouting report on Kyle and Drew and what they bring to the table. Now that these staffs, you got two assistants that don't go on the road, but when it comes to the day-to-day running of the program and coaching the program, these are vital assistants now. So what do you see? What will we see from Drew and Kyle?
Kyle's been with Coach May for 14 years, so he knows a lot about him. There are two Final Four assistants, so to have two Final Four assistants on your staff, that's incredible. Kyle is first of all, he's a Green Bay Packers fan, and I'm a Chicago Bears fan.
Man, y'all killing me. Y'all just here killing me with these allegiances. Damn.
So he'll be, when the Bears play Green Bay, he'll be in the office with his green shirt. He's a cheesehead, but great people, number one. And Kyle comes from great acumen, with his father is the head soccer coach at Duke. Drew was a great player. He originally committed to North Carolina, ended up going to Old Dominion and being a Hall of Fame player there. Drew took my position when I left. Great player, great man. They're going to be great mentors and great coaches for our guys. I'm really excited about those guys, and they're fantastic to be around.
All right, so now let's get back to you. We got a final few minutes here with Akeem Miskdeen, trying to get a feel for who you are off the court. So are you more of a rap fan or R&B fan, R&B and then rap? I mean, what if we go and look at your you know, I don't know which app you use or look at your playlist. What are we seeing most of?
Probably podcasts.
Okay.
I'm pretty boring, man. Basketball and my family, I'm pretty boring. I stay to myself. Probably watch some Netflix, listen to some podcasts. I'm probably more R&B. I challenged myself this summer. I was like, I have to get some rap music from the guys to at least know the lay of the land. But I'm more 90s R&B.
90s R&B.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a better job this summer of listening to some of the stuff that they listen to.
Hey man, you don't have to adopt everything they adopt. You can introduce them to 90s R&B.
Yeah, I will. No, I definitely will. It'll be some 90s R&B played while they're working out. But we got guys like Nimari. He listens to some 90s R&B. So
so from your 90s R&B playlist, who are we looking? Who will we see?
Man, you'll see some Brian McKnight, some Jodeci.
All right.
In early 2000s, you know, Usher.
Okay. I can't rock with Brian McKnight, but I can't rock with McKnight, but I can rock with some Jodeci for sure.
I'll go back to, you know, I got 4 brothers, so I'm the baby boy. So my brothers are older than me, so I'm listening to Luther and all that too.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm listening to Anita Baker.
Okay. See, the Detroit fans don't love that.
So when I played, I was really aggressive, 94 feet, pressure, had to calm myself down. So before the games, I would listen to R&B to calm me down.
That's different, man.
Yeah, because if I listened to rap, I might have fouled out in the first 3 minutes of the game. So
you listened to Boyz II Men before you listened to...
Yeah, I listened to some mellow stuff because I was going to be hyper. So I've always listened to R&B, but now I'm really into podcasting.
Okay, yeah, that's what Dusty said he does with his spare time, listening to a bunch of podcasts, bunch of basketball podcasts, because always getting ready for what you're going to see and do on the court.
Yeah.
So no doubt about that, man. I appreciate that. 90s R&B is cool. Yeah, introduce these youngsters. Because, man, it's not a whole lot of new rap. And I think it's very good, frankly.
Yeah.
You know, you got a nice little battle going on.
Yeah, we got a nice little battle going on.
Nice little battle to that. Okay, so yeah, you stay with that and you'll be up with the youngsters for sure. All right, and so now as we round things out, man, and we look ahead to the future as far as the program is concerned, when you see Dusty May step in the door and not talk about we're going to compete for the Final Four in the future, he stepped up in his first press conference and said, we're looking at that right now. I asked Mike, is that aspirational? Is that something that you say to excite people? He said, no, man. I walk in the office all the time. He's talking about the Final Four every day in the office. Has that been your experience too?
Yeah, we're going to embrace it, you know, just like we're going to embrace the process in order to get there, but we're going to embrace it. Like, we're not going to run from, you know, competing for championships. That's one thing Dusty's going to set out. We're not going to run from it. We're not going to be afraid of it. We want to compete for championships. That's why he chose to come here. That's why I chose to come here, because that's why I chose to come here, because this program competes for championships in every sport. And we have the resources to do it. I think we have the staff, and we're putting together a roster to do it as well.
Yeah, man. And it certainly excites the fans. That's another thing that he really seems to get. I talked about it this morning on the air. Some coaches, it's just about the bottom line. Look, if I get to the Final Four, who cares how it looks when I get there? If I could bleed the clock and get to the Final Four, I'm going to bleed the clock and get to the Final Four. Dusty's approach is different. He was like, yeah, we're going to win, but we're going to entertain you. I am trying to put an entertaining product on the court, not just a winning product. We can do both. That's something that fans like to hear.
Yeah, and that's something that as coaches, that's what we want too. We don't want to be in practice, put the ball underneath your arm and call a million sets. We want it to be entertaining, up and down. You know, that's the product that we want to put on the floor. But it's appealing to recruit to. It's appealing to coach. It's just fun overall.
Yeah, man. It also though requires a lot of trust, a lot of coaching, and a lot of trust to be able to have a team that you allow to have that kind of freedom on the floor. If you aren't calling them in, we know some coaches that do that. They're guys looking to the sideline every couple seconds. That is definitely something that you notice with Dusty. That is not that. Like, you don't have guys looking to the sideline all the time. A lot of freedom of movement for the players on the court.
Yeah, I mean, if you have, say Sam Walters gets a corner three with 20 seconds 28 seconds left on the shot clock. What's the difference between him getting that corner three at that time versus him getting that corner three when it's early in the shot clock? You know, so that's the type of freedom that we're talking about. It's going to be some of the same shots. It's just going to be early in the shot clock, and you got to trust your guys and trust some of the numbers that we're going to have and go from there.
All right, man. Well, listen, it has been an absolute pleasure to talk to you today, to get to know you better, to get you saying all these nice things about the Pistons, you know, get you out of this bulletin. Pistons kind of bad right now, so I guess we give you a pass on that, but no Bears stuff in here right now, bro.
I'll be quiet on the Bears.
Yeah.
We're not that good right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you can talk, the Bulls can talk a little bit, but the Bears can't.
But if the Bears happen to win a game against Detroit, don't mind me if I rock a Bears or Walter Payton jersey in the office.
See, that could work. I got respect for Walter Payton. I got, you know, respect for some of the Bears greats. There just haven't been a whole lot of Bears greats lately. Been a lot of Lions, you know, a lot of Lions really stepping up, getting it done. That's so, true. You know, we let you hang out.
New quarterback, you know, we'll see what happens.
Hey, man, well, I told them when they went and got that Buckeye, it wasn't going to work out. All they had to do was listen to me. You know, Buckeyes haven't had a successful pro quarterback until we just here in this last cycle with CJ Stroud. He's the first one in the history of the program. Could have told you that, Bears, but they ain't listening. So it's like they come hang out with us, man.
Oh no, I will. I definitely watch some football, some baseball. Go Cubs. I'll watch some baseball.
I don't have no problem with that. I don't have no problem with that. At least you went National League. So you got a chance to connect with any Michigan football yet?
Yeah, with some of their staffers. Yeah, we've been over there a couple times. They're doing a great job, man. They're good people. I actually saw, we were out to lunch and we saw a coach. We saw Coach working out, running yesterday. So it's good to see that big time family atmosphere. So we're excited to work with them as well.
All right, man. You came a long way in a short period of time. Got them to say some nice things about the Lions too, folks. Like I said, we appreciate you being with us as we introduce you to Michigan's new basketball staff. We're going to be talking to Drew Williamson and Kyle Church here in the coming weeks. So dates to be determined, but probably kind of look for us on Wednesdays. And then we will finish off with the man himself, Dusty May, probably sometime in June. So be on the lookout for that. You can always find all of our content over on the MichiganInsider.com. Of course, on the YouTube page, our Facebook channel, our Twitter channel, of course, Sports Talk 1050 WTKA. I tell you, Akeem, appreciate your time. Before we let you go, you know, your family, man. Tell us a little bit about your family.
So I have a 5-year-old daughter, Skylar, and I have a wife of 8 years, Isiah Miskdeen. They're excited. My daughter, my wife's favorite color is, we don't call it maize, but it's maize. We're going to say maize.
Okay.
And my favorite color is blue. So my daughter is excited to chant "Go Blue," and we hope that you guys get your season tickets so you can see my family and see us play and see us compete for a championship.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Just like all of these interviews have been. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed them as much as I have. Like I said, we'll be back tomorrow with same regular programming. Of course, we'll have the Blog Roundtable, and we'll break down for you and much, much more. Obviously, Big Ten tournament and softball is upon us, so we'll see if we have Bonnie Thole on tomorrow. Either way, be sure to join us tomorrow on the Michigan Insider. Check out all of our content over on the MichiganInsider.com. If you aren't a subscriber on the YouTube page, be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe button, and we'll be bringing you more great content as well. As always, thanks a lot for your time. We'll see you tomorrow here on the Michigan Insider on Sports Talk 1050 WTKA The Ticket, the official voice of University of Michigan Sports, Ann Arbor, a Cumulus station.